Hey guys, how's it going? I'm XYZCruncher. Stick around for the end of the video for some general updates and stuff. Roll intro.
Here I go!
What I can say about the first gen of Pokemon that hasn't been said to death already? While Kanto's fine and all, I should let you guys know I'm not the biggest fan of Gen 1, especially when it comes to the roster. It's not my least favourite generation, but I wouldn't exactly put it at the top. So if you think my choices on this list are a little odd, it's probably because I was having trouble finding even 10 I liked. A few ground rules, the things I'll be looking at are stats, design, lore, and just general personal experiences with the Pokemon in order to rank them properly for myself. Honourable mentions go to Beedrill, Pidgeot and Mew, and without further ado, let's get on to number 10. Oh, you were low on options? You should have fucking said. Yeah, number 10 probably wants to make you click off the video, and I don't fucking blame you. But for Voltorb, it's a weird one. While I don't necessarily love it by any means, it's just something that kind of draws me to it, and I can't quite put my finger on it. In terms of stats, Voltorb isn't great at 330, which isn't terrible, especially for a first Pokemon in an evolutionary line, but it's not exactly the best either. In terms of design, Voltorb's pretty original in a generation that kind of lacked said originality. Now that being said, Voltorb is just a bomb that looks like a Pokeball, but paired with the overall mechanics of finding Voltorbs disguised as Pokeballs on items, it gives Voltorb a kind of purpose and a standout originality that a lot of the nearly 1,000 Pokemon at this point seem to lack. And as for the question of why not Electrode, I just prefer Voltorb, I guess. I've also enjoyed using almost any Voltorb I did use, so there's that. It gets better for me, I promise. I'm putting Persian on this list solely because of design, so sorry if that annoys you, but what are you gonna do, dislike the video? But for real, I have good memories of Persian, both using it in the game and seeing Giovanni's Persian in the anime in all of its ominous glory. Can't say the same for Alolan Persian though. In terms of stats, Persian isn't great, which is why it's currently sitting at the PU tier. But just because a Pokemon isn't exactly competitively viable, doesn't mean it isn't useful in-game. The only reason I put Persian above Voltorb is just because I didn't really think my reasons exactly justified putting a non-fully evolved Pokemon anywhere higher than a number 10 spot. That being said, I do really love Persian, which is why it's sitting pretty right here at the number 9 spot. Another example of simplicity allowing the elegance to shine through, we've got Ninetales at the number 8 spot. Again, another Pokemon that isn't exactly the most useful in competitive, but I have a good reason for why Ninetales is on this list. In the spin-off game Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team, Ninetales plays an almost integral part to the story. To be more specific, a storyline centered around multiple Pokédex entries that mention Ninetales putting a curse on anyone who will pull on its tail, a storyline which leads to a satisfying conclusion. Also, Alolan Ninetales is pretty cool, I guess. Diglett have feet, and how does Dodrio fly? These are just a couple of questions that Pokemon fans like to ask, but one I've never heard asked is what's under Hitmonlee. Now hear me out, look at its body. It looks so hollow, almost like it's an outer shell to an actual body, but hey, that's a conspiracy for another time. The Tyranic line has always been a pretty cool one. Of course, in Gen 1 it was two completely separate Pokemon that just had similar names, but Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan, both obviously based off of Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee respectively, already get bonus points for having great origins, and it was kind of close between the two, but I've always preferred Hitmonlee's design. There's just an air of badassery with Hitmonlee's design that just can't be matched by its counterpart. And not only that, given the option, I'll always choose Hitmonlee over Hitmonchan, but I've never really had a bad experience using either, as they're both pretty useful Pokemon. The fossils were a hard one for me because the Gen 1 fossils are nowhere near my favourites, but Kabutops specifically has given me some great memories, so he made the list. Kabutops is just one of those Pokemon that oozes badass. If it were a person, when it talked, you would listen. Even if you don't necessarily like Kabutops, hell, I wasn't too big on it up until recently, but just looking at its wonderful design, and despite sharing a colour palette with like half of the Gen 1 roster, the fact that it still stands out is just a testament to how great a Pokemon it actually is, in terms of design at least. I know a lot of people hate the lime green, puke green, shiny colour that a lot of Pokemon get, such as Groudon, but I personally love lime green. It's my favourite colour, which is obvious if you look at my channel. But I think it works for Kabutops. Hell, I'd say it's probably one of the best Gen 1 shinies. Fucking come at me. Kabutops is a great physical sweeper, which is evident from its physical looking design. I mean, you just look at the Pokemon and you can see that it's a physical fighting Pokemon. And it's reflected in its competitive usage as well. I mean, it's kind of like a scissor of the lower tiers. It's just a physical sweeper. It can be used in a lot of situations. Again, not as good as a higher tier Pokemon, but it's still useful if you're playing in lower tiers. In every generation you have a popular starter. Even if all of them were extremely popular, there's always one that stands out. In Gen 1 that critter was Charmander. But Charizard didn't make the fucking list because I hate that stupid piece of shit. Instead, at number 5, we have Blastoise. Now Blastoise's design is great, a giant turtle carrying water cannons on its back. Even if you'd never seen a Pokemon before, maybe other than Pikachu, but you had an idea of what a Pokemon concept would look like, Blastoise is the type of Pokemon that you'd think of and probably come up with if you were asked to come up with a Pokemon concept. As for viability, Blastoise being one of the original starters had to be good throughout the game, and it kind of set the standard for what every water type would be thereafter, i.e. the type of Pokemon that you can just bank on to solely just crush the entire game and just be a reliable force throughout up until the Elite Four and probably beyond. While you definitely have other options, arguably better ones than Blastoise and Mega Blastoise, they've both been mainstays in top to mid tier ranges for ages, so when building a competitive team, Blastoise is definitely a Pokemon you should definitely consider. I know, boo-hoo, a legendary is so high up on the list, what a cop-out, but I have two reasons. One, I'm not too big a fan of Gen 1, so I had to take a little bit somewhere, and two, it's fucking Mewtwo. Can you fucking blame me? It surpasses every Pokemon in Gen 1, what else was I going to put on the list? If you were a kid in the 90s, hell, even if you were a kid in the early 2000s, you were an absolute boss and no one would fuck with you. Some wouldn't even play it with you or against you if you had a Mewtwo on your team, because it was an easy win. Now as for Mewtwo's lore, hell do I pity you if you don't know the lore. I mean, all I'm gonna really do is recommend you go watch the first Pokemon movie, but the TLDR version is Giovanni of Team Rocket basically stole the DNA of a Pokemon called Mew and created a clone in order to kind of create the most powerful Pokemon ever known to mankind. And by God did he fucking achieve that. Mewtwo and Mega Mewtwo X and Y, much like most legendaries, are stuck in Ubers because they're really fucking strong, like strong beyond reason. Again, it's not a bad thing, mind, but while you can't really play fair in a competitive game or get into tournaments with these guys, you can still whoop ass, but don't expect to make any friends in the process. I've always been fond of the Poly line. I mean, just look at my banner and icon for proof of that, but they've always been kind of an overlooked line, and I can kind of see why. With stats that aren't anything to really write home about, but are still decent in fairness. They're not really promoted or heavily featured in any of the Pokemon media, and they're still a great line with a cool concept at the end of the day. Poliwrath in particular is a pretty cool Pokemon with a cool concept out of the line, while in reality he is kind of the least special out of the line. A couple of his Pokédex entries give him a distinction that the others don't really have, and they kind of raise a question too. Why, you may ask? Because there's mention of the breaststroke, front crawl, champion swimmers and the Pacific Ocean, all real world things. This is the kind of thing theorists eat up. Why? Well, beats the hell out of me. I guess it kind of raises a question of whether the Pokemon world is based on our world, possibly in the future or in an alternate reality or something, because it is referencing real world things that are currently real. But I mean, it's got to count for something, I guess, right? I also have some great memories of tearing through the Kanto and Johto regions with nothing but a Feraligatr and a Poliwrath at my side. Well, maybe a HM Slave, but you get my point. Need I talk about that tough, badass design that for the millionth time is a product of Gen 1 actually getting the simplicity right and making a design that looks fucking badass? In my opinion, the best Kanto starter comes in at number 2, Venusaur, a great Pokemon and somewhat underrated one at that, at least in my eyes. I mean, it's not like no one likes it or it's underutilised. I mean, the opposite is a fact. Venusaur and the Bulbasaur line in general are much loved Pokemon. Perks of being a starter, I guess. Venusaur is also an often used Pokemon in competitive play and in tournaments, giving those who enjoy using Pokemon that stall a great high to top tier Pokemon that is more than just a Pokemon to buy them some time, as Venusaur can pack a real punch if being used correctly, making it a highly flexible Pokemon in any capacity in any team. As for design, Venusaur is as Gen 1 as Gen 1 gets. It's a plant, frog, dinosaur thing, I guess? Yes, I know it has Saur in the name, but that doesn't really mean anything looking at the upcoming game of the millennium that is Pokemon Let's Go, and how Venusaur just hops around like a frog in that game. But all that aside, using a Venusaur is a great experience. It adds a decent challenge to any game you use it in, and lets you rely on a Pokemon other than your starter if you're that type of player, and I highly recommend trying to use one if you never have, for whatever reason. And finally we've reached number 1, a bit of an odd pick, but oh well. Zapdos is one of the legendary bird trio, alongside Articuno and Moltres, and it's actually the strongest one out of the 3 as well. Zapdos has been somewhat of a constant fixture in the higher tiers of Smogon's tier listings, which is a testament to how great it is. Talking about greatness, what about that design? The air of badassery is undeniable. I'm not usually one for overly cool or badass designs, as stupid as that sounds, because it can get pretty stupid at times, and some Pokemon can just look really unappealing, ugly and just downright stupid at times. But Zapdos is a Pokemon that looks badass as hell and somewhat elegant too, keeping a good and simple design. But enough about that, here's a real reason why Zapdos is number 1 on this list. Spoiler for Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team for those of you who haven't played it, and if you haven't, pause the video, go buy the game, play it, finish it, come back and you can thank me later. But anyway, in Blue Rescue Team there's a Shiftry that's the leader of a rescue team that gets knocked out by a Zapdos in his attempts to save a Jumpluff, and then gets abducted by said Zapdos, who challenges you and your team to fight him, and thus you set off and eventually fight him and win. And this was one of the first times in the game, at least in my initial playthrough, where I genuinely got stuck and just couldn't get past Zapdos. But when I eventually beat him, I felt like a fucking god. And once beat, Zapdos just accepts defeat and says it won't go easy next time, and then just leaves. This left quite an impression on me as a kid, and made me respect Zapdos a whole bunch, and that is what earned Zapdos a number 1 spot on this list. And there we have it. Making this video was quite an undertaking, but I kind of wanted to make something a lot bigger and a big project to finally like properly come back with. And just something I could kind of look back at and be proud of, and something you lot would probably enjoy and probably would bring in a few more subscribers, because I do want to hit 100 by the end of the year, hopefully. That being said, obviously liking, sharing and subscribing would really help the channel grow, so if you please could, if you're a new subscriber. Speaking of which, my last video, the Animal Crossing dance video, was it was quite a stray from my usual content, but obviously I lost a bet, so you know, I had to do what I had to do. And yeah, some of you who have come from that video subscribed, and I'm extremely grateful for that. For those of you who stuck around after all this time, I'm also thankful. But yeah, basically moving forward, I'm now going to uni, so uploads might be a little more scarce, but I'm going to try and get at least one video per week. I'm going to try and keep it consistent, you know, like I always have done, but there might be some conflicting stuff with making the actual videos and general deadlines and stuff, but hopefully it doesn't interfere too much. I'll try bring out some content, but there's probably nothing on this scale, at least not until I get like a long extended break or something, and even then it will be, you know, once in a blue moon probably up until I'm done or drop out, because yeah. But yeah, again, if you like this video, please do leave a like, subscribe and share. It does mean the world to me, and any little bit helps. I want to get to 100 by the end of the year, like I said, so yeah, that would help a lot. Anyway, I've been XYZCruncher. Stay cool, stay safe, stay crunchy, and I'm out. Peace.